Hey everybody, Zeal Brothers here with another video. And there's a story in the media about Lane Kiffin. Now, you guys may not recognize the name Lane Kiffin, but Lane Kiffin is the coach of Ole Miss. And Ole Miss is a college team that's in the South. If you know anything about the South is one of the most competitive regions in the country when it comes to college football. They really put their college football up there with their sports they love. They love football in general, but they love their college football. And the SEC is also considered usually to be the best conference in the country. And so the South is known for its college football. They love college football. And Lane Kiffin made an interesting point. He said that college football has free agency right now, and that's a problem. He said he had a problem where he was in the middle of preparing for a bowl game and one of his players wasn't there because he was looking at other schools. And then he had a weird situation where he had to look at another player from another school in the middle of preparing for a bowl. And he was just talking about how that's just wildly inappropriate. And I looked at that statement and I just thought to myself, what a hypocrite. Because if you don't know anything about the college football situation, coaches have been leaving their programs before the year is done. So you had the Notre Dame coach leave. Lane Kiffin himself left a small school in Florida to get to Ole Miss in 2019. And coaches have been doing this for years. Look at the coach of Oklahoma, left before the bowl games. Just left, up and left. And when you look at coaches in college football, they have been some of the most protected class when it comes to exploitation in the United States. And let's just talk a little bit about exploitation, because people often talk about exploitation. And one of the problems I have with exploitation arguments is that oftentimes people do not focus on the real areas of exploitation. So, for example, I hear a lot of people talking about the salary cap in professional sports. But it's hard for me really to look at something like that and really consider that to be a real issue. Because when you look at these players, they can still make money in a number of ways. They can make money commercially. They can make money just doing their sport. They can make commercial money in many different ways. And the league is also a way of them building up their image. So the league will do things like allow their players to give the charity, etc., on league time, to donate their time to charity, make them look better. In a sense, the league builds up the images of its players to build up its own image. And the players benefit from that. Players get the ability to star in commercials without being really actors or anything. So when you look at the pro scene, those people aren't really being exploited. And there are a lot of competitive leagues, and even if people may not want to admit it, there are other leagues that may be lower tiered. But players can go to overseas, they can go to other leagues, they can compete in different ways. So pro players are not truly exploited, right? A lot of times people will phrase it as this: it's the millionaires versus the billionaires. The owners, yeah, a lot of them are not the best people. But the players themselves are not the best people either. And a lot of times the players can use their position as players to speak on issues that really don't really benefit the society in general. So for example, you'll have somebody like LeBron James or Dwayne Wade that will speak about police abuse in the United States. And oftentimes they will be saying that while they're protected by a police unit their whole life, and ignoring the fact that there is real government abuse that's going on in China that they won't speak to because that might cost them money. So you got professional athletes that truly are not exploited. You got our economic system where the average worker, and people say the average worker is being exploited. CEOs make this much, the average worker makes that much. And the truth of the matter is that the average worker is not as valuable as the CEO. In fact, he may be thousands of times less valuable than a CEO. And I'll give you a perfect example. A while ago, I worked in the people who contracted my companies was the JCPenney Corporation. And JCPenney had lots of good employees. In fact, I saw some of them. And some of those people were people that people would consider to be exploited right now. And those people were really good at doing their job. But guess what? They had very little control over the direction of their company. But there was one person who had the control of that company. His name was Ron Johnson. And they hired him as a CEO. And he drove that company into the ground. And it didn't matter how many good hourly employees they had. It didn't matter how many good first level managers they had. It didn't matter how many good second manager employees they had. It didn't matter how many good directors they had. It didn't matter how many good facility managers they had. Because when a CEO is that stupid, he can run a company into the ground, and there is nothing that your efficiency on your job can do about it. It is no different than if you go into a war and you might be a great individual soldier. You might be somebody that can snipe somebody from 3 miles away, 4 miles away, 8 miles away. You might be that good. But nothing can override the fact that your country might have bad strategy. They might not have invested for the rest of the army to be trained. That you simply don't have the political will to fight a war, etc. So oftentimes people don't want to accept it, but some people are more valuable than others. Oftentimes they can be thousands of times more valuable than others. And so you look at some companies that are literally built on the idea that one person have, a Jeff Bezos, right? A Elon Musk, some visionary, some genius. Some people may hate on the fact that there are geniuses, but the truth of the matter is that one genius can produce so much more than one person who is just good at their hourly job. That's just simply fact. So people look for exploitation in all the wrong areas. But I will tell you where I see exploitation the most, and that is in college football. It is amazing to me how much money the average coach can make. The average coach in college football is making tons of money. And not only does he make tons of money, people don't talk about this a lot, but he has access to so many young women. And people don't talk about it a lot, but we're starting to see it when you look at the former coach of Ohio State, who is now the coach of the Miami Dolphins. And when you look at his behavior and how he was grinding on a young female a couple of weeks ago, people were talking about, man, isn't he married? But the truth of the matter is that behavior didn't come from nowhere. These coaches can't truly do that as much in the NFL. But in college, they're the man. They own the campus. They can do what they want to. Nobody gonna say no to them. In many ways, they are the man in charge, and it's hard for a man who has a lot of authority and is the man in charge and the high man on the pecking order to not accept the female attention that comes with that and to not abuse that. It is truly difficult. It's truly difficult for any man who has any power over females to not abuse that because men's sexual urge is so strong. We talk about self-control in the Bible. Oftentimes when we talk about self-control, we will be realistic with it. What do I mean by realistic? What we mean realistic is we always caution men on their sexual lust. But we're truly realistic in the fact that we know men battle with lust and it's going to be a hard battle and that men will struggle with that battle. The same way with women. Women, we challenge you to be self-controlled with your emotions. But we truly understand that you will battle with that. Why? Because God made you more emotional. God made men more lustful. It is just a simple fact that we will have a harder time battling our lust and you will have a harder time battling your emotions. And that the two of us will have to battle those two things together. We simply will. And oftentimes you will see men losing that battle, and you just got to pray for your brothers. Oftentimes us men, we trash our women, but the truth of the matter is they are battling emotions because they deal with emotions at such a higher concentration than we deal with them. Just like women may not understand men have a 20 times, some studies say men have a 20 times stronger sexual drive than women do. And so that's why the Bible cautions us in different ways. That's why I had to tell a wife to submit to the husband. It's not because the wife is dumber than the husband. It's not because the wife is less equipped than the husband. It is because the wife is dealing with 20 times the emotions than a man is. And a man is dealing with 20 times the sexual desire that a woman is. So it says, don't even fight sexual desire. It says, flee sexual immorality. Because a man is not going to win that battle. The best situation for a man is to get out of that. But the problem is in college football, you can't. You're surrounded with women in their prime, and you are given a position that makes you top man. Not only are you top man, in the past, college players couldn't even be paid. So they couldn't even compete with you. And then to even get these players to come to you because you couldn't pay them over the table, oftentimes you were paying them under the table. How were you paying them? You were paying them with shady crap. Shady crap, such as allowing them to have access to women, getting them into strip clubs, getting them into clubs, doing dirty stuff on the side. Because when you can't pay somebody over the table, you will pay them under the table. That's simply the fact, right? People can try to get around the economic rules, but whenever you do that, you will pay a cost. And so college football has been exploitative because a player can rip up their knee in college and not even have a chance to get into the pros. The truth of the matter is that when you dedicate your body to a sport, there is no guarantee that you will be any good at the next level. There has been so many cases of people who have been projected to be the number one pick, go out into the pro league and fall flat on their face. Every year, there's somebody that's drafted, several players that are drafted in the first round and never make it. And every year, there are people who are drafted in subsequent rounds who become Hall of Famers. And that is simply the way it is because it is hard for us to predict how the college player will fare in the NFL. I would go as far as to say some players ruin their pro careers by how hard they had worked at their college. And they don't have any say in the matter. They don't have as much ability to negotiate their playtime as NFL and professional players do. And so you'll look at the NBA and you'll look at the fact that a lot of players are going through load management. College players don't have that. So they just burn their knees out. They just running all day. They just competing all day. And at the end of the day, nobody gives a crap about if a college player rips up his knee in a bowl game. Nobody cares about that. So why should the college player care about a bowl game when he knows he's already a first-round draft pick? Why should he be doing that? Should he have loyalty to his school when his own coach won't have loyalty? Because these coaches are leaving in the middle of years just to make more money. Why shouldn't a college player think the same? And see, men, that's where you get hurt. Because a lot of you men become suckers. You become suckers because somebody else has convinced you to have more loyalty than they have to you. And that is to your company. That is to these ideals. So I see a lot of men that stay at companies. I myself have been pressured to stay at companies over and over and over. And truth be told, I've fallen for that. And I still fall for that because I like my consistency in what I'm doing. But the problem is, as we do that, we lose opportunities. And we might wear ourselves out. We might waste our lives working for somebody who truly, at the first sign that they're going to toss us to the side. And I always tell men, always would tell you men, do not invest in something that will not invest in you. That includes women, that includes companies, that includes churches. See, a lot of these churches, they want men to come, but all they got is programs for women and kids. You got these churches that want men to come, but they constantly preaching a female-centered gospel. Don't want to speak about what value men have to the church. How if we don't start turning things around and get men in these pews, we will lose our religion. But hey, this is how they're pushing it. And so you got Lane Kiffin, the biggest hypocrite, part of the biggest exploitation of what are often mostly black young men, talking about it's not right that students have freedom. And then he is one of the most protected class college close coaches who are abusing the system, who don't give a crap about loyalty, who will abuse the future of these young men by changing schools at the drop of a hat. And a lot of people are okay with this. I'm not okay with this. I do not think it is morally right to talk and cajole a young man to come to your school. Say, be loyal to me, be loyal to me, be loyal to me. And the moment that somebody else can offer you some more money, you leave. And then leave him holding the bag. And then if he tried to transfer with you, Somebody else gonna be mad about that in your protected class? Get out of here. I'm not buying that crap. And you shouldn't either. And so that's where real exploitation happens. Real exploitation happens in largely liberal, and I will say that again, largely liberal environments where people are protected and we do not challenge the traditions of them. Where we have some people allowed to make money and other people are not, simply because you think they shouldn't be. I've talked many times about people saying, well, college money athletes shouldn't be making money because they getting an education. No, they ain't. They getting crap. They go there for a communication degree, which we all know is crap. They going for a chance to make it to the next level. And for that chance, we letting them ruin their bodies. But what do you think? Am I full of it? Is Lane Kiffin right? Or is he the hypocrite that I say he is?